Hey there. How are you? Nope. Try it now, Scott.
Hey, Julian. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So what I've done is trying to call in because I think my audio will sound better through my headphones.
Oh, okay. But then I need to mute you here because otherwise it'll reverb.
Okay, say that again.
Then I'm going to mute you here.
Right.
Because it'll reverb.
Correct.
All right, let's try it and see. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead. Are you going to call in?
I'm already called in. You should see somebody call in.
Oh, got it. Okay, so that one's muted. All right, so hold on. All right, now try.
Okay, it shows me I'm still muted.
Oh.
Okay, there it goes.
There.
How about now? Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. So the other is just a little echoey. This is fine.
Is this better?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, very good. All right, cool. Just make sure we can see everything here. How's your day been?
It's been good. So I don't know if all of the Rawls group are pulled together to do a virtual Ignite.
Okay.
That they scheduled after we had this. And I did not realize that they also included Mondays. So I have a lot of brand new agents that are there in Ignite, not on here.
Gotcha.
So I will be really curious to see how many people show up today.
Okay.
And
well,
if not,
we're going to know soon.
Chat.
Sure.
So did you think about what we talked about with how we could add Zoom to the room?
I haven't. I really haven't spent any time thinking about it, but I mean, I did the day we talked about it and tried to imagine, would that be like a physical TV that we add, you know, in the room, or would it be a matter of displaying it on the projector screen, you know, and just having that as when you look at the vMix, you can add virtual inputs, and the Zoom could be a virtual input. So that could be something that whoever's running the vMix console at the podium could then flip over to the Zoom call, and it would be a part of the feed and the stream if you wanted to show.
But if they were doing that, they wouldn't be able to show the PowerPoint, right?
Well, you can superimpose things. So you could have like the crowd could be the PowerPoint could be the main screen, and then you could have like a picture-in-picture kind of feature where you could have the audience participants as a smaller square that's just placed, you know, strategically in a top corner or a bottom corner or something. Okay. Overlaying, you know, maybe not an essential part of the slideshow, or you could vice versa. You could have the participants large, and then you could have the PowerPoint kind of, you know, 25% its size and bank it in a corner, you know, maybe depending on how important it is to see the camera, you know, the audience participants. And you can define custom views where you could easily just toggle through those. So for one moment, you could be showing the large camera with 25% of it as a grid of participants, and then you can reverse that and have that already preset up so that, you know, whoever's running the camera at the podium could easily just cut to those different preset views, you know. But it takes some experimentation probably. The other thing to do would be, if you're trying to show it in the room, would be to have another TV set up in the room.
Right.
You know, and one thing they do over at Buckhead is they actually have a smart board that's on a rolling mobile flat screen mount, and it's pretty well, you know, it's pretty sturdy. And they use that from time to time. We could use something like that and just make a big screen. I mean, if you had like a 70-inch screen, which you can get a 70-inch for $500 or $600 these days, maybe $800,
Yep.
And get a rolling mobile, VESA mounted structure, then you could have that anywhere in position and roll it around the class and let people see. And you could just grid the participants across that screen. And I think that's probably what I would do.
Because that would allow them to listen as well, right? I mean, to be able to participate. Because I know, like, now we do Facebook Live, and hey, everybody, welcome. We're going to be ready to start in just a couple of minutes. So hold on. So like we don't have, well, we do Facebook Live, but they can't talk. They have to text Kimberly, right? But with this one, at least they would be able to chat or be able to talk.
Well, Zoom introduces that ability. It does. We have to think about how you route the audio. Do you want the room to hear the audio? And if so, we'd have to run the sound from the TV into the stereo equipment.
Yeah.
Which would require some additional equipment to do that. We'd have to kind of diagram that out and figure out how we could do it. That way, people,
if they were on Zoom, then they could, when we talk about upcoming listings or buyer needs, they could chime in with what they've got, coming up, or questions for whoever. Anyway, it's something to think about. Jim definitely wanted me to check. So the short answer is yes, we can work it out. We've got options on how we want to do it, right?
Right, we do. I think we can. My biggest concern there is going to be, how do you control a bunch of people talking in that meeting? I mean, how do you maintain order? You know what I mean? If you have a bunch of people joined in, it can be kind of tricky. So. Right.
Welcome, everybody. We will get started in 2 minutes. Thanks for being here. You're in the right place.
Thanks, everybody, for being here.
You're here to learn about domain names and how to create your own. You're in the right place. Right. Sorry, y'all.
So where are you, Julianne? Is this your back deck here?
I am on my screen porch.
Oh, look at this. Wonderful.
And it is a beautiful day, so I wanted to take it.
Oh, yes, it is.
I'm tired of.
Hi, Janice.
I mean, I have a beautiful view from my kitchen, but I wanted to be in. So. And how are you doing?
Oh, we're doing well. We adjusting to life in the house, and every once in a while we get a raging case of cabin fever and deal with that, and then things kind of get back on routine. So, working from home for me is a pretty familiar thing, really. And what's different is having so many people at home with me while I'm working. Normally I get the place to myself and it's quiet and, that sort of thing. And, so it's an adjustment, but,
you bet.
School's about to be out. That's going to be interesting because right now my son, Trent, he's occupied most of the day, but now, in less than a month, it's going to be free reign.
Yeah.
So,
and then I'm bored. Yeah. I'm bored. Entertain me.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
That's when creativity starts to flow, is when kids are bored. So
right.
You say, oh, this is perfect. So go figure out what to do. Right. That's the challenge, is all these parents wanting to entertain their kids. It's like, no, let them be bored. That's when they get creative. Awesome.
Sure.
Okay. So today, welcome. We are here on our Agent Mastermind to learn how to set up domain names, what a domain name is, and how to set yours up so that people can point to you faster, easier, quicker, and so that there is a plan in place or a brand for you and your website. We have with us today Scott Hardy, who is our tech guru for the Rawls group. He handles all 6 offices. He's the one that keeps us running with all of our technology tools and services. If none of you have all talked to him, I'm sure, when you were setting up to get your website, or not necessarily your website, but your email and all that, and the printers and all that kind of stuff. So Scott knows what he's talking about, and we're thrilled to have him here. If you have a question, don't hesitate to unmute yourself. We're going to keep everybody muted for now, but you're welcome to ask a question there or on the chat button, and I'll be glad to filter those, watch those for you, Scott. Okay? So,
okay, well, thank you so much.
You bet. Take it away.
Well, thanks for everybody for having me join today virtually. I'm excited. This is my first Zoom class to ever do. I've done a couple meetings, but so I'm really excited to do something different for a change, and just thrilled to be a part of what's going on here with Atlanta North. And as Julianne said, yes, we're here today to talk about domains. And this is a class we've taught in the past. And it seems to be that there's always an ongoing need to understand domains and what they are, and the importance of them and how to get control of them. So we're going to spend time today talking about how to, what a domain name is, how do you get one, how do you configure it, what are some best practices, what are some things you can't do, what are some things you can do. And then with our time, I want it to be productive. So as Julianne's going to moderate questions, we'll take questions and go through that. But I also would really like it if we could get to a point where if you have a domain you need to help get configured or set up towards the end of the class today, I would love to be able to get those completed for people. So we'll just have to take that as it goes and see if we can manage it. But my confidence is high. I think we can figure that out. So definitely want you to leave here with a sense of gain some knowledge and, productive use of your time. So what is a domain? That's really where we start talking, I think. And let me show you. I'll get my screen up here so everybody can see it. To understand what a domain is, I'm not going to go into a long-winded history of domains and internet and where it comes from, but I will tell you in the beginning of the internet, IP addresses were super important because that's what connected websites together. And websites are really an IP address, believe it or not. For example, I've got Google up here. If I went to kw.com, for example, and let's say I put in this address here, 74125.138.99. Whoops. It was typing. Let me try that one more time. Here we go. 74. If I just put in this IP address here, 125.138.99, and hit enter, did you see what happened there? Google came up. That's actually Google's address. Their real address is 74.125.138.99. You type it in the web browser, Google comes up. I can't even remember that number, and I just typed it in twice and said it 3 times, though. This is the reason why we have domain names, right? Because people speak in words and letters, whereas computers talk in numbers. And so there has to be some sort of a translation. And so what we do is we use domain names that are easy to remember so that we can find our way around the web. The internet translates these words like www.google.com into an IP address so the page comes up. Same thing with your real estate website, same thing with KW. KW has an IP address, kw.com. Just any website that's out there does. And so it becomes important to have a domain name just so we can find each other, so we can find our websites. And so finding a domain name, figuring out a domain name for your website, it's interesting with KW because as everybody starts with KW, you're given a domain name that you can use. You're given a website and you're given a domain name. And we're going to talk today about how to take advantage of the domain name that's been given to you by KW and how to brand it. But where I want to begin is really talking about where do you get a domain name? Where do you get this whole thing started? And there's several vendors that you can buy a domain name from. The household name that everybody probably knows, though, is Godaddy. Get that in there. And I love Godaddy. The reason I love Godaddy is I think they're one of the best prices for what they sell. I think they are excellent in customer support. I think that they're very reliable in terms of uptime and how fast they process. So sometimes people say, well, GoDaddy's not the cheapest. I could beat their price by $5 a month or whatever the case is, or 5 months a year. And there are some cheaper solutions, but at the end of the day, I think GoDaddy is just a really safe bet. So when you're trying to come up with a name, a domain name for your website, right? GoDaddy has some tools that we can use so that we can find domains that are available. It may help you to see why we're trying to do this. Consider this for a minute. If I go to mykw.kw.com, excuse me, agent.kw.com, get logged in here. Everybody by now probably recognizes where I'm at. I'm in the command database here and the command dashboard. And if I come all the way down the bottom, I can find my agent website provided to me by KW. Here's the control panel coming up. If I go to agent site pages here, look at this right here. It shows me my configured agent website is here, https://affordablegeorgiacabins.com. Now I chose this domain when I set up my command with KW. There's a little tool they run you through to set up. If you haven't set up your website, you haven't gotten this far, you can work with Carrie Qualters and Julianne, all three, and they can walk you through how to get commands set up. But once it's set up, as a byproduct of being set up, you're given this domain name. And this domain name works right here. If I were to click on this and open it up, look at that. That's my agent website provided to me by KW. All right, I've dressed it up as a fictitious site. I'm not in sales, but if I was, I'm pretending like I'm the cabin guy because I really like cabins. So I just kind of attached myself to a fictitious brand here of selling cabins. This is my agent command site. But look at the address. Look closely here at the address. This is the address they gave me, that I chose from KW, affordablegeorgiacabins.kw.com. And the problem with this, there's two challenges with this. One, this could be very difficult for consumers to remember, right? Because people think in terms of something.com, right? They don't think in terms of something like this. Look how it's segmented, affordablegeorgiacabins.kw.com. That's a lot for the consumer to keep track of, right? Consumers would think of something more like affordablegeorgiacabins.com, drop the KW out. But for this product, you cannot get rid of this KW. It's just the way they set things up. Everybody has something.kw.com. So one reason why we want to get a better domain name is so that we can rebrand this so that it's a little bit easier for our consumers to remember and to type in. The other thing that's challenging about this is these domains, they're actually called subdomains. These domains, when they're issued to you by KW, they're controlled and owned by KW. And so if you were to go and put this address on your marketing collateral, like your business cards and bumper stickers or coffee mugs, mechanically speaking, it would work. It would work fine until something changed. Maybe, who knows, maybe in 3 years, KW makes an announcement that says, guess what, everybody, we're rebooting the whole website initiative. Everybody's getting new websites, and we're changing the domain configuration. We're no longer going to have kw.com, we're going to have something else. Well, all your marketing collateral will now be invalid, right? Your magnets on the fridge that have been good for the last 2 years suddenly wouldn't work if KW were to make a change. And that type of change is out of your control. Maybe you want to get a custom website. Nobody says you have to use the KW product. You know, you can use third-party vendors. You can look up a web developer out of the Yellow Pages and hire somebody to build you a custom website. And if you did that, you would not be able to continue branding this domain that KW gives you because we don't have control over it. There's nothing we can do with it other than just use it the way KW gave us. We can give us a little bit of a name here, but the point is as things change in your world, you want to be able to keep your brand strong and you want to keep your marketing collateral valid, right? So that's two reasons why we want to talk about changing this up a little bit and not using it as it's given to us by KW. So this address here, what we want to do is we want to improve on it. We want to come up with another domain that we own, something that we control. And we use Godaddy to come up with that. And right on Godaddy's main page is this tool that allows for you to check and see what domains are available. It's a brainstorming tool, really. You can sit there and think about whatever comes to mind, and you can put it in to this search field here and see if it's available. For example, maybe I want to see if AtlantaHomes.com is available. You can probably predict the answer to this, right? It's already taken. You can see right here. It is a first come, first served basis, right? So if you want to try and get one of these domains, you have to kind of, if you wanted to get AtlantaHomes.com, you probably would have had to gotten that about 15 years ago, to be honest with you, when the internet was really starting to kind of blow up. But the tool continues. You can just sit here and you can work and you can brainstorm on ideas and try to come up with domain names. And one of the most common questions I get is people say, you know, I don't really know what my business is just yet or what my domain name should be. Where should I start? And if you're just getting started, one thing to consider is a first and last name, if it's available. I mean, in my case, if I go to Scott Hardy, try that, scotthardy.com, and search that. Unfortunately, somebody else beat me to it. It's already taken, and it's not me. It's somebody else named Scott Hardy out there. But if you're fortunate enough to check and see if your first and last name is available, and it is, then that could be a really good starting point. The cost for these domains is really, in most cases, very affordable. Usually runs about $15 to $17 a year to keep a domain name. So it's not a huge investment to start with your first and last name by chance, you know, to see if that's available. As you start thinking about maybe further how to brand your business, you might come up with yet another domain. And to be honest with you, sometimes people have a handful of domains for different campaigns because they're so reasonably priced. Sometimes people, when they're talking about first and last names, will have maybe a challenging name to spell. And a question I get a lot of times is people say, when I'm coming up with a domain name, I'm thinking about my first and last name, but it's difficult. Should I change the spelling to make it easy, or what should I do? And I tell people, I think you should use your name the way it's exactly spelled. It is you, it's your name. You're creating a brand and an identity. And so if your name is difficult, I think I would go for it. I would go ahead and spell my name exactly the way it is and see if it's available. If it is, in fact, if it's a difficult name, chances are it may be more unique and actually may be available. Sometimes people will look at this and say, well, the scotthardy.com is taken. Come down here and look down the page. Look what Godaddy's doing. They're saying, well, yeah, scotthardy.com is available, but you could get scotthardy.org. They added an M in there. I have no idea why they did that, maybe for mobile. Scott Hardy M or scottmhardy.com, no good. They also add live.net.us. And one thing I want to say about this is I would encourage people to steer away from the temptation of going for one of these domains that have an alternate ending. I think .com really is where it's at. Most consumers think in terms of .com. Especially in a case where the domain is already taken by somebody else. If you are trying to be competitive and scotthardy.com is taken by somebody, and then I go and take scotthardy.org or scotthardy.live, it's going to be challenging for me to get my target demographic to think of the correct address. They're going to be tempted to put scotthardy.com because that's just how consumers think. In which case they would end up on the wrong page, and that would be a confusing experience, especially if it was a competitor. You're probably not going to go in competition with somebody with your same name, but what if you were, you know, AtlantaHomes.com is already taken, so what if you did AtlantaHomes.live, right? That might be available. That would not be a strong domain because people are probably going to put .com in there. So as you're trying to figure out a name here, remember .com is definitely desirable. Spelling things correctly is desirable. First and last name is a good starting point. I can tell you back 8-9 years ago, I had a company that was called H&H Tech, and we went down and registered the business as an LLC, and we misspelled it. We spelled it H with an ampersand symbol, and then H, and then TEK. And then after we created the business, we said, well, we need a website. And so we started looking, and turns out the ampersand is an illegal character. You can't do like this is what we're looking for, HandHtech.com. Can't do that. They won't allow you to put a symbol like that. It's just letters. So I didn't realize that at the time. So that was a bust. So then we said, well, you know what, we'll spell out the word and this became our domain. We've had this for years, HANDHTEK, but it's so confusing. I hated it. It only cost me about $15 to have, and it launched our business. And you know, about 6 months or maybe 6 weeks, I guess, after we came up with HandHtech.com for our website, one night I woke up in the middle of the night with the idea of www.supportforrealtors.com. And I just remember that. I remember leaning over to my nightstand and grabbed my laptop, checked it at GoDaddy. It was available. I bought it, and then went back to sleep. And then the next morning, woke up and started playing with it. You know, but sometimes people said to me, "Oh my gosh, supportforrealtors.com. That sure is a long domain name." I hear some people say, "Don't go for a long domain name," but I tell you, this was a great domain name for me because it says what I do. When you read it, support for realtors, you already have an idea, a mindset of what you're going to experience when you go to the website. It's some sort of support for realtors, you know. And I used this domain for years. And it's convenient that these don't cost much, generally don't cost much, because I was able to have that flexibility to kind of settle for something the first time. And then when a better idea came along, I jumped on it. So as you're trying to figure out a domain name, if this is your first domain name and you're starting with your first and last name, but you're not 100% satisfied with it, don't let that get you down. Ideas will come as your business develops, as you start thinking about your brand identity and value propositions, start thinking in terms of domain names. You'll come up with some good names. You'll come up with alternative names, and you can collect them. You can start using them for different things.
Hey, Scott, somebody's asked, what type of plan is smart to choose from the 3 choices that GoDaddy offers?
It's a terrific question. If you're not sure about the domain, you're just getting your foot wet, so to speak, your toe in the pool, you could do a 1-year plan and just get just the basic registration. They're gonna try and have you bundle all kinds of stuff to it. You don't need to take any of those incentives. In my opinion, you don't need to take those incentives. They'll say, well, you want an email plan with it? Do you want a hosting plan with it? Do you want to get a SSL certificate? And all these things that, you know, they have value, but there's nothing there that you can't choose later if you need them. Right now, I'd say just getting the basic domain registration, and for a 1-year registration makes sense, especially if you're just getting started. If you're confident in the domain name and you're thinking, this is it, I found it, I figured it out, I'm going to use it, then there is some advantage to going for the longer term instead of 1 year. One of the things that Google crawls on your website when it's ranking your website is the expiration date of your domain. So if you compared an example of a 1-year registration where the expiration is clearly marked, it's going to expire this time next year, versus somebody who does like a 10-year registration, the 10-year registration shows a higher level of intent and steadfastness for the business, and it's going to get Google's attention a little bit more. And so that's one thing to consider if you think you've found the golden brass ring domain name and you know it's it. Go for the longer registration.
So what if you think, okay, I've got it. This is what my domain name is going to be, and I love it. Yeah. And you sign up for a long-term one, and then after a few, years or whatever, you realize this is not working. Can you create a different one and then point the old one to the new one so that you don't lose anybody or anything?
You certainly could, which is a great example of having that control of a domain versus using the KW only domain. You absolutely would have control of that. Sometimes I've seen where agents will get married and their name will change. And so they'll have their, let's say, their first and maiden name, .com for years, and then they get married and their name changes, and maybe they want to reflect that. So what they'll do is they'll go ahead and buy the domain with their new married name, and they'll keep both domains, and they'll point those domains to their website. Either you could point the first domain to the new one, or you could point them both directly to the website. Either way, there's no reason why you couldn't do that. So, and that's an example of a question that at some point today, I will show you how to forward a domain, but when it comes down to it, and it's your turn to do it, 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now, and you know it can be done, and you're wondering, hey, how does that work? That's a great example of getting on my schedule at Rawls Group Help Desk. We'll be happy to walk you through that, and I'll show you how to get on my schedule today before we close. So supportbuilders.com worked for me for years. Let me show you some of my approach, though, to coming up with strong domain names. And hopefully this will help you in your search for finding that domain name that you just love. You remember my cabin example, and I'll build off of that example to show you how I arrived to that final address. So anytime I'm coming up with something that I consider to be strong, when I say strong, I mean SEO strong, whether it's writing content on a web page or coming up with a domain name. When I say strong, SEO strong, I'm talking about, does it appeal to Google? Does it appeal to the search engines? Obviously, it has to appeal to people as well, your target demographic, but you kind of, it's a balancing act where you want it to make sense to the human audience, but you also want it to make sense to Google when it's crawling your page and ranking it. And so my formula for just SEO strength is, and if you're taking notes, this may be worth writing down, is when I'm writing content or coming up with a name or domain name, I try to incorporate geography and niche and value systems. And we're going to go through that. I'll show you how I apply that. So let's imagine that I'm looking for my domain name for my cabin business. Imagine if I had gotten just cabins.com. How powerful could that be? I were to search that and see, of course, it's taken, right? And this is an example of a niche, right? Wouldn't you agree? Cabins or a niche, not geography. It's not a value proposition necessarily. And I hear people say, yeah, all the good websites are gone. You had to have been here 20 years ago or 10 years ago to grab those good ones. I feel like when I hear that what people are really talking about predominantly are niche websites. You know, imagine if you were in car sales and you tried to go get cars.com. You already know before the results come up, you know it's not available, right? What if you're in real estate and you said, you know what, let's go get realtor.com. Of course, you know it's already taken, right? Those things are already taken, those single words, those niche websites. In some cases, you may find a unique niche is available today, and that's something to consider. I mean, if you can get that, that'd be great. But in reality, we're probably going to have to build on this formula. So if I have cabins as my niche, let's add some geography to that. Let's say georgiacabins.com. Well, things have changed now. You can see here, in one sense, there's good news. It's available, but you probably see the bad news. Do you see the cost of it? It's $20,000. Well, what happened here is we come into what's called a premium domain. And while most domains cost you about $15 to $17 per year, if you come across a really good one, and Google and Godaddy rank websites all the time, domain names and how strong they are and how likely they are to succeed, and they put a dollar value to it. And georgiacabins.com is truly available. Nobody's gotten it yet, but GoDaddy has decided this is a premium domain, and which is a good indication that you would be very successful with this domain. Question is, do you have 20 grand to put into it? You know, as I'm building on my domain names, cabins.com features just niche. georgiacabins.com, I've got my geography and niche. That started opening things up for me. And now I have to decide, you know, is it worth a $20,000 investment? And in some cases, if you've got the financial backing for that, it may make sense. I mean, imagine if you really were trying to start a business selling cabins across the entire state of Georgia. Well, 20 grand to get your website started just with a domain name, it might be actually feasible when you think about it. And just so you know, not all premium domains are $20,000. I've seen premium domains as low as $2,000 or $3,000 and all the way up into, you know, 25, 30 and more. It really just depends on how strong the words are that you're putting together. And then once you pay your initial fee, then it becomes $17.99 a year to keep it running. And you just pay that each month. Each year, right? So GeorgiaCabins.com is definitely a strong candidate. I just can't afford it, right? And so a lot of times we have problems where we're trying to come up with a good domain name and it's a niche only, it's already taken, or as you can see here, it becomes a premium domain. What can I do to keep trying to make this unique and make this focus to my demographic and my business? And it's the third component. We're adding to the niche and geography, add a value system to the domain name. And this is where things start to unlock, in my opinion. An example of a value system is something that, that you do that encourages or pinches a nerve, if you will, of engagement on your target demographic, something that gets their attention. It's something that you do that they can't do. It's something that you know that they don't know. It's something that you do that your competition won't do or is not willing to do. And a value proposition is something that sets you apart from everybody that you're in competition with. That, like I said, pinches that nerve of engagement for your consumers. So as I'm thinking about GeorgiaCabins.com, I began thinking, well, where can I get a value proposition that would help this? And I came up with, and I've already given it away at the beginning here, but here it is, affordable GeorgiaCabins.com. I tried affordable as my value proposition. And you can see it's taken, but it's taken by me. I own this. So, that's me right there, affordable GeorgiaCabins.com. And so all of a sudden I went from cabins.com, which was a total no-go, and Georgia Cabins, which was really still a no-go because of the cost. And all of a sudden I got affordable GeorgiaCabins.com for hardly anything. It was $17 when I bought it.
So Scott, there's a question, and I think they did it kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I think it's important to mention it. And it says, does GoDaddy guarantee an ROI?
I'll let them guarantee an ROI. So I don't know for certain what that is, but I can tell you on my radar, immediately I began thinking that's a sales pitch to say, let us build your site, probably what that is. My best guess. I haven't looked into it.
Return on investment, if they're going to spend a couple $1,000s on a
mm-hmm.
premium one, the answer I would think is, if you're paying that much money for a premium site, your job is to make sure that you are taking those leads and working them to guarantee that ROI, return on investment.
And you're speaking on the agent's responsibility at this point, correct?
Correct.
Right. Yeah, because just getting the domain name, it's just like having an address to a lot that doesn't have a house on it yet. You still have to build the house. The address is valid. You can send mail to the mailbox if you put a mailbox there in the curb, but you don't have a house yet. You still got to get a builder and build a house kind of thing. So just getting the domain name here, whether it costs, $20 a year or $20,000 to get it set up, because it's a premium domain, still doesn't guarantee that it's going to pay off. You've got to have content to achieve the ROI. And so that's why I say I think they're probably offering a marketing SEO package, probably, which usually involves building the website. And so they're going to say, hey, you're willing to put 20 grand into a domain name? Well, let's build you the site. And so you get involved with them, and it's probably going to be a fairly expensive endeavor. But in order for them to guarantee the ROI, they have to build the content. And content is usually one of the biggest challenges when it comes to websites. It's not that difficult to build fancy layouts and pretty websites that are aesthetic. To get a website to perform requires content. And I don't want to get in the weeds on that, but that's the answer to the question. I would think that's what that is. And if I find out different, I'm going to look into it at one point, but if I find out different, I'll let Julian, I'll let you know. But I think that's probably what that rabbit hole is, if you will, trailhead rather. So affordable in this example was my value proposition. And sometimes people will ask me, well, so is value proposition always a discount? And it's not. It's just something that sets you apart from other people. So I could do luxury Georgia Cabins and see if that's available. It may or may not. I think this was available for some time, and then in the last year or so, this got taken up. Luxury Georgia Cabins. Already taken. I'll show you another way to do this, though. Here's affordable, right? Affordable Georgia Cabins. You can move around on the three components. Value proposition. Georgia is the geography. Cabins is the niche. So what if I kept my value proposition, affordable, and kept my niche, cabins? What if I changed the geography around? Like I could go and I could say Georgia cabins, but I could also go and say affordable, how about Blue Ridge cabins? It's available and it's on sale. Oh my gosh, look at that. Affordable Blue Ridge cabin. Do you think you could get Blue Ridge cabins without the value proposition? Just the geography and the niche? Of course not, it's already taken. But when you start combining those three components, geography, niche, and value system, things start becoming available.
But people have to type all three of those in order for it to point to you, or if it points, if
well, they have to.
Blue Ridge cabins, would you show up? If you chose affordable Blue Ridge cabins, just curious.
So if you chose affordableblueridgecabins.com, in order for somebody to find your website by directly navigating to it, in the address bar, they would have to appear as the address bar. They would have to type the www.affordablegeorgia or affordableblueridgecabins.com. But I think I hear your question is if somebody did a Google search at Google and they said affordable Georgia cabins.com, and I don't have affordable, or excuse me, they just did affordable Georgia cabins, would I show up in the search results? Is that your question? Down here, would I show up among all these?
So if for example, if you paid for affordable Georgia cabins and somebody typed in Georgia cabins, would affordable Georgia cabins come up in the search?
So that's relative, and that's a key word. It's relative to the site content. It's potential. There's potential there to show up, but it wouldn't show up just because you had a similar domain name. The only way you could get that to work would be if you had content that was relative to what the consumer is searching. So if somebody just put Georgia cabins instead of affordable, if they just put Georgia cabins in there and search that, and your website, Affordable Georgia Cabins, talks about Georgia cabins, which it would, you would probably diversify various geographies, like Blue Ridge and Blairsville and different places. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but you may have those locations in the content of your web page. And as Google crawls your page and starts to index all the words of your website, if Georgia cabins is a predominantly recurring theme, then sure, it could show up in the search results. But it wouldn't happen just simply because you bought a domain name that was similar to that domain name. It would be content that drives your arrival into these search results. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Scott, somebody else has asked a question. If someone was to choose an address without a com, what's the second best choice to end the address? And does that make sense, or should it be a com if you really want to get exposure?
Yeah, I really push on the .com, especially if there's a site out there somebody has the same idea and they've already got the .com and you're competing against that. I would work on the prefix in front of the .com. I'd work on the value proposition and the geography and niche. But if you are just bound that you just can't, you have to do something other than the .com, you might could do something with, I've seen where some agents have done the .realtor, and that's available through, I think, I'm not sure that's available. I think it may be through realtor.com. They may sell that. Julian, do you know where people are buying the .realtor extension for domains? Have you come across that at all?
I haven't, no.
Where you see that? That's one alternate. The other thing, I would steer away from things like edu because that's for education. gov, I wouldn't do that. Org, that's for like churches and nonprofits. I would stay away from that. In some cases, you may be able to find some extensions that can make sense. Let's say you're going to do a very heavily video content web page, then you would take it instead of .com, do a .tv. That's a possibility, just because you're trying to maybe put together that sort of a thing. But it's just rare would I ever say, yeah, this made sense over .com. Just in the business that we're in, .com I think is the way to go. So I hope that helps answer that question. Some of the things I was thinking about in our area here is if you were to look up something like, I don't know, how about Marietta? Homes for sale.com. Of course, that's already taken, right? And of course, here we go. The homes for sale becomes the niche, and Marietta is the geography. So what if you were to do something like luxury, make that the, whoops, missed my button there. Make that the value proposition. What do you get? Suddenly that's available. All right. Another one would be something like Indian Hills Homes, for example. Maybe that's available, maybe it's not. Let's see. Oh, that one is available. Yeah, well, those are available again because I guess what was happening is Indian Hills, in this case, is actually sort of the value proposition and the geography, you know, because it's a geographical comment, but it's pinching a nerve of engagement, right? So people are like, oh, Indian Hills, I definitely want to live there, that sort of thing. I was playing around with stuff like Marietta Country Club Homes for sale. You know, these are kind of long, and I wouldn't make this my primary domain. Whoops, it'll pick it up, it'll check it. I can't believe that's taken. Marietta Country Club Homes for sale.com. I would have thought for sure that was available.
Well, it's an actual neighborhood, Marietta Country Club.
Huh. Hey, at least it's in the family, right? So I'm glad a KW person nailed it and got it first. So they're employing that same theory, you know, the components there. Common question, and I've already got it kind of today, is can you have more than one domain? And should you have more than one domain? Why would you? The answer is yes, you can have multiple domains. There's no limit to the number of domains that you can have that point to a website. In this case, we're doing the example of the KW command website. I could have one domain that I get to GoDaddy that when you type it in, it transports the web visitor to my agent website. I could have a dozen domain names that I get and I market for different reasons. I mean, imagine if, let's say you were farming a neighborhood, for example, and let's say that, let's just use Indian Hills for an example so I can get it across. So let's say you're farming Indian Hills and you're going to put door knockers out, and you've written out your value proposition with a call to action to reach you or to visit your website. And the website is, you know, maybe the value proposition is, have you even thought about listing your home? Now's the time to do it. There's a great opportunity. There's 3 reasons why you should do it, and 2 mistakes that everybody makes when they say, don't sell my house now. We should talk. Go to my website and fill out this, you know, and click on the button to, I want to know more. You know, that could be a quick, you know, marketing campaign on a door knocker, for example. And what if in that scenario, your web address was MariettaHomeAdvisor.com or MariettaHomeFinder.com? Let's say that, MariettaListings.com. Then the person sitting in the neighborhood in Indian Hills would definitely recognize the Marietta for sure, you know. But what if instead it was Indian Hills Listings.com or Indian Hills Real Estate Advisor.com? Now the person who's in Indian Hills is sitting there looking at your door knocker, you know, standing there right there in Indian Hills. All of a sudden you're making a connection to them, right? Because you're talking about being an expert in their neighborhood. And what if you were to farm a collection of neighborhoods, and for each neighborhood, you were to incorporate the name of the neighborhood into the domain that you put on that particular door knocker? So instead of generalizing with a single domain, you may have spearhead a campaign where you've got a handful, maybe 6 different or a dozen different domains that are based off of the value proposition and the niche, but you just mobilize the geography. Is that making sense? I don't know. I can't see if anybody, it's weird in class a lot of times. I can read the room and go, oh, okay, I think that landed, but it's awkward today because it's hard to get a feel whether or not that's making sense. So if anybody's getting lost, let Julianne know so she can bump me and say, hey, go back on that. But hopefully that made sense. You know, yeah, you may have a range of domains. And as your mind starts to work on your business and you start to define your brand identity and what your value propositions are and who your demographic audience is, then domain names may start coming to you, you know, and you can come up with different marketing campaigns based on the construction of these domains and start to put them into printed marketing, put them into various marketing collateral. You can put them into your emails. It really just kind of starts to snowball after a while, it starts building. So hopefully that's making sense. So when it comes to finding that domain that you want, and you've decided you found it and you're ready to buy it, you basically just go to GoDaddy, and you can set up an account and you can purchase your first domain. If it is your first domain though, and you've never done an account with GoDaddy, you can actually get your first year. If you do a Google search for GoDaddy, 99¢. It's kind of funny. They have this 99¢ incentive where you get your first domain, first account with your first domain for 99¢ the first year. Claim it, hurry up and do it today while supplies last, sort of thing. But it's been going for about 8 years now, so it's kind of funny. But this is a great thing to start right here. So you can go in and say, yeah, okay, I've put this 99¢. If you do your search here instead of just GoDaddy.com and say, I forgot which one was available, but if I did the Google search here and search, it should open up and say, yeah, it's available. Then you can simply go ahead and create an account. They walk you through it. It's real simple. They ask you a couple of questions about you and who you are, and you put your billing information in, and then they're going to try and offer, to attach all kinds of things. And I would just encourage you to decline on all the little add-in services. All you want at the end of the day is just just the name itself. And it should show 99¢ if you choose 1 year term. If you choose a 2 year term, then you're going to end up paying, $18.99 today, because you're going to pay for the first year at 99€ and the second year at its regular price. So if you add term to this purchase, then while you will get the 99€ discount in the first year, you'll end up having to pay for all your terms up front. But if you do a single 1 year term, then you can get out the door for 99€ plus tax, which is pretty cool, especially if you're just dabbling with this and getting used to it and getting exposure to it. Once you've got the domain purchased, though, you've got to hook it up. So I want to spend a few minutes showing you how I've hooked up mine so that it works. Right now, when we go to affordablegeorgiacabins.com, what comes up is my command site. And notice that the KW part is missing. Can you see that? Mine just says affordablegeorgiacabins.com without the KW in the middle. I'm going to show you how to get that working. In order to show you that, I'm going to break it. So let me get on my side over here on a computer you can't see. Give me just a minute here. I'm going to get logged in here. I'm going to break it so that it's back to its original configuration, and then I will let you see how I put this together. Take just a minute. Julianne, you can sing some hold music for a moment. Just kidding. Let's see. Here we go.
All right, so I see your Rawls Group website.
Okay, I just took it out here. I just sent the command to undo everything. And give that just a moment. You should be seeing the Google page now.
Yeah, we do.
And let's see if it could, sometimes these changes don't happen right away. Let's see if it's going to happen. It's going to break it yet. Yeah, there it goes. So this is what it looks like when you first buy a domain and you haven't configured it or set it up. It just kind of goes nowhere. In this case, it's a little different for me here because I just broke a working domain. So it's saying, hey, there's some sort of a problem with it. But if you just purchased it, it'll come up and say, hey, it's a new domain. It's parked. Come back later, it's talking to the consumer. Come back later, the site will be up soon, hopefully, that kind of thing. And so you got to get this thing connected. And so here's what I do. It's actually gotten a lot easier than our previous products. With the command site, it's super easy to do this. Let me get into GoDaddy, let you see it. So I'm just going to log into GoDaddy. Somebody else is here. Let's get into ours. If you knew how many usernames and passwords I have to keep up with, it's kind of crazy at times. There we get in with this one here. maybe. Okay. So whether you're purchasing a domain to begin with, or you've purchased one, you're not sure what to do with it, now you're finding out what to do with it, and you're signing in, you should be able to get into this dashboard where it shows your products. And so if I collapse this, you can see we've got all kinds of different things. These are the different packages they try to get you to buy when you're setting up the domain to begin with. We're going to be focusing under domains. If you can't find this area right here, one of the things you can do is you can just go up to your account and you should be able to go to My Products. So it's real easy at times to get started in a different place when you log into GoDaddy. So just to get your bearing, if you just go up to your name, you just hit My Products, it should get you to where you can find everything you've purchased, all products and services, and what we're looking for right now is domains. There's a list of all the domains that I've purchased. And most of them are all company related for the Rawls group. And look at this guy right here, affordablegeorgiacabins.com. So what you do is you find the domain. If you have a collection of them, you're going to have to go through and find the one you want to configure. If you just bought one, it's going to be real easy. It's still going to be the only one you see. And what we want to do is get into the DNS. And before I get into these steps, I did say it's pretty easy, and it is easy. But if this is something you're not comfortable with, then don't panic and know that I will work with you to get this configured and set up. I just want people to see it today, how you do it. And if you're able to pick that information up and run with it, great. And if not, if this is not in your wheelhouse, then I'm happy to help you out with that. Hopefully we can do that after class if you've got one that needs to be set up. So what we're looking at here is what's called a DNS record of the domain. And it can be a little intimidating if you're seeing this for the first time. There's a lot of different information. On a brand new domain, something you just purchased today, there's really nothing that needs to be changed in this records area. If this is a brand new domain, all you got to do is scroll down to the bottom of the record, go past all that stuff, and look for forwarding. This is how we're going to connect this domain, Affordable Georgia Cabins, to my KW website. So I'm just going to add forwarding. And it's asking me for a destination. I could forward it to any place on the internet from here. I could forward it to Julianne's website if I wanted to. I mean, literally right now, and then within a minute or two, if you type in affordablegeorgiacabins.com, you'd see Julianne, sold by Julianne, if I put that in here. But we're going to use my KW site, which here's the address right here. And again, the way I got to that was I logged into command. Here I am in the command dashboard. And what I'm doing is I need to figure out what my web address is for my KW website. So I'm coming down to the dashboard all the way down the bottom where it says consumer. And then I've got my agent site pages. And it's going to present my current web address. Now, if you get this far and there's nothing here, then something that's not been set up. You need to get with your agent services and probably with Carrie, Walters. Julianne, let me know if that's a different person. I usually send people to the tech ambassador for your website, for your market center.
Carrie Walters or Kimberly. Kimberly Griffin handles a lot of those too.
Gotcha. And so if you don't have an answer here, get with one of those two individuals. They'll help you get this thing set up to this point. But once you get to this point and you have this address presented on the screen, this is what we're going to tell GoDaddy for our destination. So I'm literally just going to copy this and then go back to my GoDaddy control panel under forwarding, and I'm going to provide an answer here. I'm going to paste it. If I look closely at what I put in there, the string of text, look at this. What I pasted has https:// and then there's this little question right here. Is it HTTP? And they want to know, is it HTTP or HTTPS? Obviously, we see what the answer was, so we're going to change that HTTPS. And also, we don't want this duplication here, so I'm just going to update this a little bit and take out the little prefix. Just going to take that and just going to delete that. So now the system knows it's a HTTPS. That just simply means it's going to be a secure site, and then the actual address continues. Now I have a choice of calling that a permanent or temporary. In most cases, I would recommend that you say permanent is the right answer. And then for settings below, you have a choice of forward or forward with masking. Now, the difference between forward and forward with masking, the one advantage or one difference is that there's an aesthetic advantage. If I say forward only, then what happens is when somebody types in my GoDaddy domain, which here it is, affordablegeorgiacabins.com, if they type this in and it's set up with forward only, then in the address bar up here, when the page finally loads, it's actually going to show the relevant final destination. So in my case, it would actually show, even though they typed in affordablegeorgiacabins.com, the address bar would show affordablegeorgiacabins.kw.com because that's the final destination. If you turn masking on here with this radio button, I can come over here and I can overrule that with a title, and I can type whatever I want. I could type affordablegeorgiacabins.com, and whatever I type in the title is what's going to show up in the address bar. And so that's how when I showed you earlier, when you went to my website and it no longer showed KW in the address, it was because I have forward with masking turned on, and I just wrote the title that I wanted. Now it'll present this as you've written it in the address bar, but also in the tab of your web browser. For example, here it says domain manager in the tab. Over here it says agent sites with a bar command in this tab. These are titles for the web page. And so whatever you type in the title is also what shows up in the tabs as well. And so when you do a title, I do recommend that you put cap sensitivity in there. Not that it impacts the ability for the web page to come up. I mean, somebody can type it in all caps or all lower or mix it, and it's going to work just fine. But when it comes to reading it and being able to identify what you're saying, it is a good strategy to go ahead and capitalize that. Whether you're putting on a business card, putting on a a magnet or a calendar, or in this case, as a title in our web page, I'm going to go ahead and put that capitalization in front of each word so that wherever it shows up, whether it's on a Google search page or in the tab, it's going to look readable, right? And then I can go ahead and I can save this. Interestingly, this purple bar is actually a progress bar. It'll remain up while it's in progress. And then usually by the time this disappears, then the update will be completed. And this is an example where I like GoDaddy. When you start comparing GoDaddy to other registers out there, there it goes, it just disappeared. Sometimes these types of changes that we're making right now can take hours, sometimes half a day or more for them to start showing up. And GoDaddy is really fast in terms of how fast how quickly they update DNS changes like we're making now. So I hope I didn't just jinx myself, but let's go ahead and type in affordablegeorgiacabins.com. It already remembers it. I'm going to put it in, and hopefully it comes up to our site, which it does. It also maintained my masking. If you look here, look at the tab, you see how it treated it? It picked up the capitalization that I put in right there. Just a nice little touch, right? All right, so basically what I've done is I've bought the domain, I've connected it to my KW website, and I use forwarding in order for this to pull up. If you've had your web...
I'm sorry, there's a question on the tags. Do you need to fill in the tags on what you just showed us when masking?
That's a great question too. So the description here and the keywords. So one limitation of forward with masking is it can confuse Google when Google's crawling the internet and it comes across, oh, there's a domain out there, affordablegeorgiacabins.com, let's go visit it. If masking is turned on, then it may not be able to immediately see the correct metadata, which is the description and the keywords. And so when you're forwarding with masking, they open this up so you can go ahead and you can put in a description and keywords. It's probably a good idea to go ahead and put those in, especially if you're wanting things to be as SEO competitive as possible. But it's also not a substitute for going in and putting it in for each of your pages within command. If you go and look at, ooh, you know what? I might have said something out of place there. I don't know if you can put descriptions and keywords into command. You have to forgive me. I've actually not been in the KW product for quite some time. I've been in more infrastructure support, and I just was answering that question with Placer in mind, to be honest with you, and that's our former product. I don't know if you can put in the metadata directly into each page for a command. If you can, though, anytime you have the opportunity to put it in, it's a good idea to do it, as it is here. And if you're not sure what these are, if I can take a minute, I'll show you. So this may be a huge light bulb that'll go off for some people. When it comes to description and keywords, if you do a Google search and you do something like, let's just do homes for sale in Georgia. What you're looking at here is a list of websites that match up, that are relevant to homes for sale in Georgia, the search that I just created. And Google has displayed them in order of relevance or in order of advertisement superiority, because you see the word ad in front of here. We all understand that. These people are paying for position. But then down below that, you have these pages here, which are organically placed. This is Google's opinion. Google was paid to put these up here, these first three. But then when you get to Zillow, Google crawled Zillow and said, well, in Google's opinion, Zillow is the most relative website on the entire internet for the phrase homes for sale in Georgia, which is a powerful statement to say about Zillow. But as you're looking at these search results, what you're seeing are titles, meta titles, and descriptions. Meta titles, description, and look, here's keywords. What you see in this first big blue area is your title. Whatever you put in for your title is what shows up in this blue area. Whatever you write in your description here is what's going to show up in this little paragraph right here. So I used to see this and think, oh, well, this is Google. It just went and found the website and it picked these words. It decided this is the most relative paragraph, so it put it in there. I didn't understand at first that as the owner of the website, or as a content owner, you actually have control over what shows up here. So you want to write a description that supports the content of your website from a Google perspective, but you also want to write a compelling statement here to pinch that nerve of engagement for your consumer, right? So you could write something in effect that would get their interest, because when somebody gets this far and they're looking at a list of websites, the next question is, which am I going to click on? Usually people click on the ones on the top, of course, but then at some point, have you ever been unsatisfied with the top leading pages? You're like, no, that's not it, that's not it. I'm gonna keep digging. And then you start really paying attention to these descriptions. Well, I'm not quite finding what I'm looking for. What does this one say? Okay, what does this one say? And that's where it pays off to have a strong description in there, because you can pinch that nerve of engagement. And so you can get that description in right here. And keywords should support the description. The keyword just helps you to explain to Google what the page is about. So if you just do a series of keywords, and again, this is a little bit out of scope of what we're talking about today. It's a good example of getting on my schedule. We can talk about some SEO strength and keywords, but basically you can write keywords that would support your description. Because when Google reads the description, it's not going to understand it. It doesn't have people that are reading that. But when consumers read the description, you're speaking English, right, to them, or you're speaking their language, and people read the description, it makes sense to them. So in order for Google to better understand it, it allows you to put in a list of keywords. And you can say, here's the 10 most popular keywords on the website. And you can just list them out separated by comma. And Google says, oh, okay, now I get the idea of what you're talking about. And then, of course, it's going to get those keywords and it's going to go start looking for them all over your web page to verify that the content does match up to your keywords, which is all. I got to be careful. I feel like I'm going down a rabbit trail there with that, but it's a whole other concept. So hopefully that answered your question. Yes, I would definitely put those in there. If you need some help, that'd be a good example of getting on my calendar. There's one more thing I want to show you, and then I'm going to switch gears with y'all. We'll go in more questions if you have them, or maybe some more workshop mode. Earlier, I talked about having multiple domains. Now that you've seen me hook a domain up, I want you to consider this. When I talked about having something like IndianHillsListings.com or Marietta Country Club Listings.com, I said that you can have unlimited number of domains that point to your website. But one thing I want you to understand is when you're creating your website, especially when you're creating the command website, you can create internal pages, landing pages on your website. And just for an example, I went and created some of these landing pages. And here's an example, Indian Hills, right? It's actually turned off, I guess, at the moment. Let me go turn it on. Hope I didn't break it. All right, look at this. This is my Indian Hills page. If I go here and open it in a new window, I haven't seen this in a while, so hopefully it's got some listings. It's active. All right, so here's my Indian Hills neighborhood trends. Now, could you imagine how difficult it would be to take this address, look at that address, and put that in marketing? That would be a train wreck, right? But what if you were to create this page like I did in Command, relative to your demographics and to your marketing campaigns, and at the end you have this long address, but what if I went to GoDaddy and got IndianHillsListings.com, IndianHillsInfo.com, for example? I could own that domain and point it to this really long, ugly web address and then market it. Does that make sense? Right? So then you may have multiple geographies as you start canvassing your service area where you've got these internal pages at KW. So when I say, yeah, you can have multiple domains that all point to your website, they could point to your main landing page of your website. But as a strategy, you could create and mastermind a variety of resource pages, internal pages, and you could incorporate a recognizable and brandable domain that you bought from GoDaddy for $17 a year to take something impossible like this address and market it with a very commercially viable branded domain. So hopefully that makes sense. I did tell you that was my last thing, but I lost track on that in GoDaddy. And there was one more comment I wanted to make, and then I'll break with you. So what I showed you when connecting these domains was in the scenario that it's a brand new domain. And I just want to speak for a minute that if you already had your domain working with another product like Playster or Market Leader, and now you're trying to get it to come into Command, you will have to get back into the DNS table here, and you will need to make some changes to some records. And I'll just point those out real quick. Basically, the A record, this first one, what you'll have to do is delete it. If you're already working with like Playster or Market Leader, what you'll do is come to this pencil and just delete it. I'm not going to delete mine. That would be a problem. And then you also have to find this other record here called Cname www in it. And if it says anything other than an @ symbol, like you may see something like Playster's web address, like my real estate website platform.com, mykwrealty.com, things like that, you have to change this @ symbol. You just go into the pencil and change whatever they have and put it to the @ symbol. Those two changes are the only thing you have to do to get this record reset, so then you can come down and forward it. If you try to forward a previously configured Playster or Market Leader site without making those two changes I just showed you, it actually won't work. So just point those out. The A record has to get changed, and then the www Cname record has to get changed. And if that's something you need my help with, it's real simple. All you do is go to rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com, get on my calendar. I'm happy to help you out. If you can't do it right now, Rawls Group Help Desk, go to book a remote tech session here, and then click on my name, Scott Harding, and then you'll see my calendar. You can get in there, and the green dots are what I have available. You're welcome to book a tech session. There's this week, and then here's next week coming up. So I've got a lot of openings right now, and you can book a session. I'm happy to help you get those records done correctly. Or if you try it yourself and it doesn't work, and don't panic. And I'll say this: if you try it yourself and you break your website, and all of a sudden it's a train wreck, text me or give me a call and say, "Hey, I need some help real quick. I've done something," and because I'll definitely work to get that set up so that we don't, so we minimize any kind of downtime. So, but if you haven't done it yet and you just want help, get on my calendar and schedule it. I'm happy to do that. So
Scott,
all right.
With that thought process, there's a couple of questions that people had.
Terrific.
One of them was, can we go ahead and continue to use our old Playster website?
The answer to that is yes, you can. It used to be that you could do that at no additional cost to you. It was a part of the KW product, but today you'd have to pay for it. So what you can do is you can visit, let's see. see if this is it. So the product is called Agent Core, and I don't know the web address that they've got set up, but see, on my website, I mean, I did know it because I went to it off of Rawls Group. Watch this. If I go to Rawls Group, helpdesk.com, and go to resources up here in the top, stand corrected. I put it under downloads. But go to downloads and then look at this, download your Playster content. See that last option down there, download Playster content. When the transition was happening, it was a bad rush for everybody to download their site. So I've created this link, which happens to also have access to this product called Agent Core. So for $59 a month, which is a discounted price, you can go to Agent Core and you can keep your Playster website working as it was as the KW site without any changes. And that way it buys you some time as you figure out what you want to do with either keeping with Playster or moving on to something different.
You could keep your Playster website and point it to your new command one, or does it automatically do that now that we don't have Playster?
Well, you can't point a website. You can point a domain. So your Playster site is content, right? It's not a domain name. So your template, my Playster, will always be on Playster server. And so what you do is point domains to Playster or to content. So maybe you keep your Playster site running for content reasons, and you have a branded domain like Affordable Georgia Cabins used to go to my Playster site, right? And then once you have new content, and in my case, the new content was we migrated. We said, we're no longer going to use Playster. I'm going to use Command. Then I went into GoDaddy and I updated the records. I deleted that A record and I changed the Cname record as I showed a minute ago. And then I did the forwarding to the Command site. And I just basically abandoned the Playster as it just went away, right? And so if you're paying for Agent Core, obviously you want to, it's a month to month, so you need to end the contract, but you're going to point the domain name, not the web address.
So
now, and let me say this, if you just bought a domain through if you just bought a Playster website or even did Agent Core, now Playster would give you a raw domain, just like KW gives something .kw.com. Well, Playster has My Real Estate Platform as a part of their website domain setup, and they would love for you to market the domain they give you, because then over time it locks you into where it disrupts your marketing if you were to change it. So let's say you got tired of Playster and said, I'm ready to go to Agent, Command and use their website. If you were using Playster's template and its standalone domain name, then your marketing is going to get disrupted. So you always want to market a domain you're in control of. So GoDaddy, because that way you're flexible enough to deal with the changes that may happen, whether it's a provider that changes, or you decide to use a different template or a different template provider or a different company, or whatever the case is that's changing in your world. If you have marketed a domain that you're in control of, such as GoDaddy, then it's not a big deal. But if you go market KW's domain name or Playster's domain name that's assigned to your template, to your content, it's a hazard. I hope that makes sense.
So for those that had a domain name with the Playster, you can now point it to your new KW site.
No, you can't. What you have to do, you won't be able, if you did buy a domain through Playster, then what you'll have to do is it's a tricky thing called a domain transfer. You'll have to take ownership of it. And if you pay for it through Playster, then you have entitlement for the transfer, but you have to transfer it and take ownership of that domain in order to gain the control of it, and then then you can point it. So Playster, as long as they're the owner of it, they won't point it anywhere other than their own internal templates. So what you do is you go to GoDaddy and you buy what's called a transfer. It's pretty cheap. It's about $7, right? So you can go in and they probably have something. I bet there's transfer somewhere around in here. Domains. There it is, domain transfer. So you basically, what you do is you have to have an account at GoDaddy already set up, or you can set it up when you buy your domain transfer, and you pay your $7 or $8 to GoDaddy to initialize the transfer. And then what happens is there's an exchange of information between GoDaddy and yourself and Market Leader. And because you've paid GoDaddy for the transfer, you now have GoDaddy in your corner working, advocating for you. So they'll push you along and make sure it gets done. Right, so that they'll talk to you if you need to talk to them and say, hey, okay, I bought the transfer, now what? They'll walk you right through it, and they'll send the email to Market Leader, let them know that they're initializing a transfer and go through the process. The whole thing should take, you could probably get most transfers done within 24 to 72 hours if you stay on top of it and push it. In some cases, if there's any confusion, or if you're working with somebody that's not as up and up as like Playster is, up and up, you know, Playster is a very reputable company, but some people drag their heels on transfers and don't want to let it go. You know, it can get kind of tricky, but as long as you've paid GoDaddy for the transfer, you've already got them, you know, swinging for you, and that is definitely helpful. I do get involved with some transfers. If you need my help, you can do a ticket with me or a agent consult, and I'm happy to walk you, you know, or help supervise the transfer with you. But you got to get the players involved. It's got to be GoDaddy and Market Leader. And then once the transfer is complete, then you go under contract with GoDaddy, you start paying their regular annual renewal, but you have total control of the domain, and you can forward it to anywhere you want, and it's all yours at that point.
Okay, so Courtney, are you still on, Courtney King? Did that answer your question? Where did she go? No, she didn't hang around long enough. Okay. Too bad.
I got Courtney Morgan.
Yeah, no.
Well, aren't we recording this?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, good.
So
it's
and also, if you're having trouble, because Scott and I were working on, because I have a domain name, and once we moved from Playster to the KW site, I was struggling to get my Sold by Julianne onto my KW site. And even Scott was struggling with it because it's not something, I mean, he's not on our new KW sites, and we're being honest here. His expertise is more in the behind the scenes stuff. So Kevin Jackson helped me, and it took him 5 minutes to figure out what was wrong and was able to get it so that it logged it in. So we have lots of resources for you. So just call one of us and we'll point you in the right direction.
Awesome. Do we have any more questions or anything we can focus on?
I would love to see everybody's face.
I don't see anybody anymore. We had a couple at the beginning. I guess people are.
There's Janice.
Oh, hey, Janice.
New message. Too scary. Kelly, what do you mean by too scary?
For the camera.
Oh, please. Hot mess, my baloney.
Oh, gosh.
All right.
There was something else I forgot. What was I was going to
there's
say?
Shelly. Hey, Shelly.
Hey, Shelly.
Any other questions regarding domain names? How many of you have a domain name? Shelly, you don't have one?
Shelly has one. I was just working on hers the other day.
Okay. She does.
She does.
All right. And
ShellySellsHouses.com.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she does.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. They make it easy because when people say, what's your domain name? It's so easy to be able to say, well, check out, soldbyjulianne.com. Something that people will remember. They don't have to write it down.
Exactly. I'd like to know if anybody can share something they learned today. Anything that was new? Ahas. Tough room, huh?
I like the whole idea about the SEO and having both the niche, the value system, and the geography. I thought that was really good. We were looking at things. There's a question here from Kelly. What's the maximum length for a domain name that you would suggest? Is there a recommendation?
I believe it's. Oh, I was about to say the technical answer is 256 characters, I believe. From a practicality standpoint, I'd say, obviously it can get too long, but if it conveys your message, I mean, I got criticized for support for realtors.com. People said, there's no way that's going to work. And that site blew up. I mean, it worked. In fact, one of my competitors bought it when I closed the company. I was like, oh, nobody's going to get that. And 3 weeks later, or 3 months later, he bought it. And if you go there now, you see one of my old competitors. But if it gets the message across, it works, if it's, think about it this way. There's two audiences, really. There's your people you've met, your have met, and then there's, your sphere of influence. And then there's people that you haven't met, that you're trying to meet, your have not met. And so if you're building a web domain name think about it like that. What's my business? Is it referral business, or is it lead gen business, or is it some sort of a combination of both? If it's a referral business, then you can find a lot of latitude when it comes to finding your domain name, what you like, right? You can do something cute, you can do something novel, you can do something memorable, and you maybe have just one domain name that you work with, and that's it. And you're basically just setting up shop, establishing yourself on the internet, and it's your little corner of the web, and your referral clients talk to you, and you talk to them, and you say, hey, here's my website. If you are in the lead gen posture and you're trying to generate leads at your website, then you're definitely going to need to be thinking in terms of the niche, value system, geography standpoint, in which case your web domains may get kind of longer, you know, as you start incorporating that. But it may mean the difference between engagement or not. You know, if somebody's looking to relocate into Marietta and they see a website that says MariettaHomesForSale.com versus, help me out, can you tell me the name of a high school, for example, that's highly desirable? Anybody? Wheeler? Is Wheeler in Marietta?
Walton is the best.
Walton, okay. So if you had a consumer that had to relocate out of state and they were moving to Marietta and they knew about Walton High School and knew that that's where they want their kid to go to school, and they had a choice of going to MariettaHomefinder.com or WaltonListings.com, you know, they may be checking both of them out, but for sure they're going to check out the one that pinches that nerve that says, wow, he's selling what I'm buying, you know what I mean? Or he's an expert in what I'm looking for. So, you know, it really depends on whether or not you're doing a referral site, if that's your business, or if it's lead gen. If it's lead gen, those domain names may get kind of lengthy, you know, as long as it connects, you know. And another word I'll tell you too is, as you're buying domains or thinking about buying domains, it's really good practice to run this by your compliance team and make sure that you haven't done anything that's not out of compliance, especially before you go buy 10 years worth of, you know, domains, a dozen of them at 10 years each. You know, that's a lot of money there. You want to run that by your compliance team and make sure that you haven't, there's a couple of words that you have to be careful with. You're not allowed to say, actually, I've got a list. Give me a second. I'll tell you if those are.
Realty is one of them.
So not acceptable are the word realty, right? You can't use like Scott Hardy Realty. You couldn't do that. Real estate is another one. I couldn't do ScottHardyRealEstate.com or HardyRealEstate.com. I couldn't do my company name.com or my LLC name.com. I could use something like my name plus a team, like Scott Hardy Teams, or you can use Real Estate Team, Scott Hardy Real Estate Team, Scott Hardy Real Estate Group, you know, the North Atlanta Real Estate Group. Those sorts of things are acceptable. But basically what Greca's trying to do is they don't want you to look like a broker if you're not. And they want to make sure that there's a clear line of communication between the consumer, through the agent, through the broker, and then finally to Grec. So they just want you to know that, that the consumer needs to see your marketing and understand that you are the agent, the salesperson, not the broker. So that list exists.
Very important.
Yeah.
No real estate, no realty.
Right, right. So as you're brainstorming those ideas, check with your
Sherry Arisby first, our compliance person, before you spend money.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Double check that. Yep. Anything else?
I think that's it. I think we're good. And if anybody has any questions, you know how to reach Scott, right? Through the website.
Thanks, Scott.
RawlsGroupHelpDesk.com. I'll put that up for y'all so you can see it as you're exiting. Looks like we had about 23 people in here today. This is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had some great response to the Zoom calls. It's been awesome.
That is terrific. All right. So, yeah, you can go to, I almost sent you to Affordable Georgia Cabins, but you can go here to RawlsGroupHelpDesk.com, click on book a tech session, book with Scott Hardy, and then browse my calendar. I try to make myself as easy and available as possible. There you go. Super easy. Okay.
Cool. Sounds good. Awesome. Thank you.
Very good.
Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for letting me be here today.
All right.
My pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, everybody.